So welcome back, everybody. We are continuing in on page 108 in the original text. Again, you could find it if you're following in the English text, or you could also see it in the words of Arieh, which is about a quarter into the chapter. As we began this chapter last week, Perek Mem. So, again, 108, the fourth line from the top. Or wherever you're following it, or if you plan to follow it as well on the website, so you have exactly the text of the class, and or on this website you have it without the text. I always mention as well the TanyaOnline.com, which you can see all the previous classes, including the beginning of chapter 40, which we just began last week, and or this class, which will come up a short time after it comes up on the original website. Accordingly, so the Alter Rebbe was saying last week, just a brief recap. We can't just to get it. We always send everybody to see the previous class and on the website, so it's a show the time to repeat any point, and it's a click away. But just to get a little bit of flow into today's class, Alter Rebbe recaps this, which he said in the previous chapter, that there's the limit lishma, limit shalei lishma, but yet not lishma, rather, but not shalei lishma mamash. Just stam learn Torah mitzvah nashim l'madav is the way he was brought up. In other words, he's not learning with a negative ulterior motive. He's just not learning Torah lishma. And then there's a lower level, by far lower level, that he's learning Torah shalei lishma. With that, he takes the Torah. I say by far because at that point he takes the Torah and he's made it. He brings the Torah to a level. In other words, he incarcerates the Torah because he's malbish the Torah. He encloses the Torah with a sack. It's a Torah chigri sack. Chigri sack, actually, it says girdle. But in the Torah it can be in a sack. The clip of Torah could be in a sack, as it has a similar English connotation as well. A sack which encloses the Torah in a way that Torah isn't golus into that sack. That Torah, like someone throws somebody in a sack and closes the sack, the person is not free to express himself. He's enclosed, he's confined in something that he doesn't want to be, in a place, in a state that he doesn't want to be. Similarly, when the Torah could be as well incarcerated in a sack de klipa. Why so? Because the person who learned Torah shalei lishma mamash, and that motivation, if it's the different classic cases where the Talmud tells us what shalei lishma is, she'yikor rav, people should look at him, consider him, and so on. That's klipa, understandably, and that is a negative ulterior motive, and that grabs the Torah that you're learning, that the person's learning, and incarcerates the Torah, confines the Torah. And that's a problem. For that, a person has to do tshuva, just like we learned in the previous chapter, in the end of Lamed Tes, the 39th chapter. And that this is what tshuva does, just like tshuva alleviates the neshama from its incarceration in the world of klipa and tuma and sitra achra, negative spirits, and as a result of her actions. So too, the Torah itself, because it's in a sak de klipa, in other words, it's in golus, in a state of exile within this klipa, needs to be alleviated, and the person needs to do tshuva for that. Again, you could see it in the end of chapter Lamed Tes, the class before this class. Today was a little bit more meirich on the process of tshuva, someone learning Torah shalei lishma. Remember again, it's not only not lishma, which it could be again either in a more neutral state. No, it's not the ideal, because the Torah has to be learned lishma, and again, it's not a big madrega, it's not a high madrega level to learn Torah lishma. Just understanding what Torah is, one should naturally learn Torah lishma. But yet, there is the idea of shalei lishma. This is without dafka, without learning it lishma, but not shalei lishma. In other words, there's no ulterior motive. You stop learning Torah, which is one way to correct that in order that Torah should connect on high. But the far worse, the far more problematic type of learning Torah is when someone learns Torah mamish shalei lishma, for an ulterior motive, and again to boost his ego and so on and so forth, and that becomes a shell which incarcerates the Torah. Torah has to be alleviated, and with this the Alter Rebbe brings the pasuk Ma'yisrein la'adam b'chol ha'malei sheyamel tachas hashemesh. Again, as we can see again towards the end of last week's class, tachas hashemesh l'mayla min shum shahir zamalei tachas hashemesh. His whole amal doesn't. Like it says in the Lashon Hazeh, begin yekari, if he does it for the sake of his honor, it remains problematic. It's tachas hashemesh, or as the Alter Rebbe goes on and explains, Asher mishabalakan v'talmudi biyadei. That what does a talmudi biyadei literally mean? That he comes to El Mabah, that he learned Torah. But what? So the Chayda should have said Asher mishabalakan with the mitzvah of Talmud Torah. What is that talmudi biyadei? The Alter Rebbe explains so beautifully, the Talmudi biyadei, that it didn't remain an Elam Hazeh. In other words, that it was that when a person learns Torah shalei lishma, as we learned, and again we explained in much detail, that it remains an Elam Hazeh, remains on ground levels, and that's not elevated on high. So when the person comes up to Elam Hazeh, his limud Torah learned shalei lishma, or even not lishma, or namely mamash shalei lishma, it remains in Elam Hazeh. So he comes to Lamaila. But kan b'talmud is not biyadei, because it remained in Elam Hazeh. It wasn't nis'ala, it wasn't elevated with the wings of Ava v'yira to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Ava to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Yira of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and therefore remains in Elam Hazeh. That is the problem. And again, on the positive side, Ashrei mi, fortunate is the person who did come here at Talmud biyadei, because his limud Torah was lishma, so it ascends on high, as we learned again. We spoke about that, ascending on high through Ava v'yira Tivis, or Ava v'yira, should be his galus liba, if it ascends to Elam HaYetzira or ascends to Elam HaBriya. Generally, it's the idea that it goes deeper within HaKadosh Baruch Hu, as we explain time and again. We don't only have to look at it from the spiritual perspective, but more so, or from the spiritual perspective of our within the relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But it works also. We can understand it perfectly and appreciate it thoroughly in the context of relationship of any two acquaintances. There is the action, there is the favor someone does, or the gift someone gives, and then there is the sentimental investment, which then, when there is that sentimental investment in the gift doesn't just remain a gift. The gift enters deeper and yet deeper within the heart of the recipient, based on the investment, the sentimental investment of the giver, of the provider, the one who presents the gift, the one who gives the gift. The more the sentimental investment, the more it reaches, the deeper it reaches within the recipient. When we say deeper within the recipient, we know Atzilus represents the Ein Sof. So if it's done with Chilur Chimu, it's done with Yira and Ava, or Ava v'Yira, love and fear, which is Torah Lishma. So the Torah does not remain Lamata of Elam Hazeh. Similar, like we gave the example, a messenger brings a gift. There's no connection. It's just a matter of fact interaction. But But and this similarly, someone who doesn't learn Torah Lishma, the Torah remains lamata. When the Torah is learned with Avaviyira, so that the Avaviyira become wings which elevate the Torah deeper within HaKadosh Baruch Hu. How deep? So it depends on what you said the sentimental investment was. If it was Tchilur Rechimu Hativim, your inherent Tchilur Rechimu, like we said again, this is a few tidbits of the previous classes, which again, please, if you're just a newcomer, try to find this and want to understand these prakim, just see this last chapter, Lametes, or generally, again, you have access to all the previous classes with the text, etc. But namely, in this to understand these prakim and this insight over here, should look at Perek Lametes. So as opposed to when a person learns Torah with Tchilur Rechimu should be scholarly, which means it's not only the inherent Avaviyira, which also becomes a set of wings to elevate the Torah on high, but not to Eilam Abriya, only to Eilam Yitzira, again as explained. Why the Yitzira, but in the end of the day it also serves as a set of wings, because there is a burning fire. It's a small fire, it's the inherent Avaviyira, but that becomes wings to elevate, again, similarly with the relationship of two acquaintances, a bit of sentimental investment, the gift enters into the recipient's heart. In other words, the energy, the sentimental energy which was invested in the gift enters within the heart of the recipient, but yet if there's a more of a deeper sentimental investment in the gift, so the energy enters even deeper. The person is more touched. When you say, I'm really touched, I'm touched to pieces, or whatever it is, I'm really touched, meaning to say that because you invested such sentimental, you invested sentimentally in this, even more into this gift, so the recipient feels it more. Very simple. And it's simple when it's similarly when it comes with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. If it is the Avaviyira should be scholarly, which means a passionate love, a passionate fear, that takes the Torah mitzvahs and elevates it deeper within HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And as explained, that's the Eilam Abriya. So here the Alter Rebbe explains, and that's, he says, fortunate is the person who comes b'alakan v'tamudi biyodei, that it didn't remain in Eilam Hazeh. Okay, that's where we left off last week. Here, the Alter Rebbe goes on, this is a bit midaf halten kop, though, as they say in Yiddish, but let's try to put this together over here. The next part, the Alter Rebbe is basically going to say the following. We'll try to say it a bit orally, or take a little bit of time to say this orally. The Alter Rebbe says, isn't the Torah one with HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Be'etzem. Isn't mitzvahs, as we said time and again, Evarim de Malka, the limbs of HaKadosh Baruch Hu? And for that matter, the Alter Rebbe focuses on Torah. So let's keep to the Alter Rebbe's example over here, because we're dealing with Torah, kind of a Talmudic biyade. We're dealing with mitzvah Torah because it naturally works with mitzvahs as well, but we're focusing now on Torah. So the Alter Rebbe says, isn't Torah be'etzem HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Remember learning Perek Daled for that matter. So Alter Rebbe points out that in the end of the day, Torah deals with Shnai Mechsim Batal, Zemranim Mitzvah. If you look at the Mishnah, the Torah, generally Limud Torah, the Mishnayos and Gemara, or even Mishnayos, when you're dealing, most of the Mishnahs, most of the Dinim of Torah deal with the physical world. Zroim Trumas, in other words, Zroim Trumas Meises. Some has a field, and he has to give pay from it in Truma, and there's multiple dinim in Truma, and in Meiser Sheni, and Eteravai, and in Orla, and Kilei Kerem, and all these things are dealing with the Eilam Hazeh Hagashmi, the physical world. So where is the sanctity? Where is the holiness? Or even, sometimes even it crosses even into the world of Sheker, into the mundaneness, such a word, in Eilam Hazeh, to the extent that people aren't careful with what they say, or the lack of responsibility, lack of integrity, lack of honesty. Shnai Mechsim Matalas, two people are holding a tal. Zemranim Mitzvah, one said, I found it, and the other says, I found it. One is for sure lying, and this becomes the Mishnah, and this becomes Teiras Hashem. And Alter Rebbe asks, is this the Anechi Hashem Alikecha? Is this when we say it, I say the Kuchabrich Kulachat Teira and the Eibishter are one. So when I learn Teira, I'm connecting to the oneness, to the most profound dimension within HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Anechi, as we explained, it's even higher than Elikechos, even certainly higher than Elikech, even higher than Shem Hashem. It's the core essence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's dealing with things which don't seem to be holy. And what do we answer? There the Alter Rebbe answers it in the context of mitzvahs, but it's the same idea as it doesn't matter, who cares? It's like a person comes and says, the king gave me a hug. The other one's going to say, give you a hug? He gave you a hug in the winter. He gave a hug in the spring. He wasn't wearing his coat. And the third one says, he gave me a hug in the summer. He was just wearing a shirt. And therefore, the king showed me more affection. And it's a narish argument, because what's the difference if he's wearing one garment, he's wearing a sweater, he's wearing a coat? Guf HaMelech B'Seicham, it's the body of the king is within that coat, within that sweater. Similarly, like within that shirt. It's the same king, and the king embraces. If it's an embrace from a king, it's an embrace from a king. The same thing that Alter Rebbe says again. There, it's in the context of mitzvahs, but in the same idea when we're dealing with Torah, that what's the difference? What the garment is, if it's about Shnai Mechs and Matalis, it's about the dealing with this world and physical reality, again associated with it. For that matter, the significant majority of mitzvahs deal with Elam Hazeh Gashmi, but especially when it crosses into the falsehood of Elam Hazeh. Two people holding a talis, my name is Asiyah, this is Teres Hashem. On the other hand, you see one of them are lying, or one of them are lying, but what is about his message is Teres Hashem. What's the difference if it has one garment and it has another some type of a garment which doesn't look pretty, doesn't look holy, but in the end of the day, it's a din in Teira. Guf HaMelech B'Seichem, Hashem is there. The whole Anechi Hashem Lekech is in every part of Teira we learn. Gemara, Mishnayos, Halacha, if it's Teira, it's associated with Teira Seina Kadesha. You have there the Anechi Hashem Lekech. That's basically, give or take, the message throughout. And Alter Rebbe asks this question in one line, and he says, at the end of the day, Teira is God. Teira is HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Teira is the Anechi Hashem Lekech. The Gemara, remember the Gemara? Anechi Hashem Lekech. The Gemara says Anechi is an acronym. Ano Nafshi Ksavis Yahavis. Hashem says, Ano Nafshi, I took my nefesh, my core essence, and Ksavis, I wrote it into the Teira, and Yahavis, I gave it over to Am Yisrael. So the Teira, so from the perspective of it, I said, so I did it with Avivira. I didn't do it Avivira. It's Teira, it's Elokus. In other words, I learned Teira with Avivira, with love and fear, which we explained till now that becomes the wings which elevates Teira on high and connects to the spirit of, again, my kavana, as we said, there's the sentimental spirit which is invested in something, and it again reflects in the area where it enters within the recipient. So too we want to say, but similarly by HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but he says the question is, it says when I give a gift, for example, the gift is a gift. Not necessarily it's connected to the giver, inherently connected to the giver. It's a gift. He took it off the shelf and now he starts placing in his sentimental investments. They say you give it as a messenger, or you give it as or you're giving it as a friend. Because the gift itself is not part of the giver. The gift itself is something completely separate from the one who's giving the gift, or doing the service, or whatever the case is in the relationship of man and man. But in this case, Teira itself is inherently Elokus. Teira itself is not only part of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Kulachad, Teira is God. So why is it so relevant that the person learns Teira without Avivira? That's basically the question. And again, you'll be able to follow along as well, find it in the text. And the Alter Rebbe has answers over here with ashtikal arichas, with a little bit of elaboration. So again, this part, namely, is really which we have to probably maybe take a few moments and say this orally, and so we'll do so, and then we'll try to find it in the text. So the Alter Rebbe says over here, in his answer, in his response to this question, that let's look at the way HaKadosh Baruch Hu connects with Elam Haza, with this physical world, with any world, but let's try to understand it as it is in this physical world. One is going to say, just for argument's sake, I have to learn Torah, because Torah is one with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tell me, is there anything independent of HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Is there anything is separate from God? We know Eined Milvado, everything is God. God is everything, so what do I have to learn Torah? I could connect with anything in this, even in this Elam Hazeh Gashmi. That's where I find myself, in this very physical world. So let me connect with anything in this very physical world, and that would, and with that, I'm connected to God. I have to learn Torah to be connected to God. I have to do a mitzvah to be connected to God. I'm sitting by this table. What is the energy of this table? Is it anything else other than God? God forbid. That's heresy. Because in the end of the day, it's everything is Hashem. Emes Hashem la'elam, the emes of everything. In other words, the emes, the truth emes of elam is HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So I'm sitting by the table, I'm connecting with the table, so apparently I'm already connected with God. Why do I have to learn Torah mitzvahs? Again, I'm just trying to introduce, again, without saying everybody, just like this example, and everybody in his right mind understands that does not make sense. And why doesn't it make sense? Because true that everything is Hashem and Hashem is everything, but that the problem is that the way HaKadosh Baruch Hu comes to Mekayim, this physical world. So there's a few matters, really they're interconnected. The investment of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in this world is from the Asarim Amores, which is the inferior dimension of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. If you remember, we spoke a few times the difference between Asarim Amores and Asarim Hadibres. Asarim Hadibres is the Nafshe Yotze Bedabre. When it comes to Asarim Hadibres, there's the Eivish, the Hashem's essence, which he expressed in these Asarim Hadibres, which is Torah, generally a Torah. And as opposed to Asarim Amores, Amores is way inferior, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it's called in Lashon and Zeir Mila de Hedieta. Even though Maimer, Dibor seems to be similar, no. Maimer is the inferior words of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, like somebody who just says, pass me the sugar, pass me my shoes or something. No one gives great significance to that. We're not talking about everything in life is significant. Generally, you don't give it great significance. When he gives a class, if he's a professor, so then Nafshe Yotze Bedabri, whatever he's all about, as a professor in this area, this is what comes out bedabre. This is documented, and this is recorded, and this is his opinion or what he stands for comes out onto the surface via his speech. But his speech carries his entire essence, his entire energy, and what he stands for. No one records that before he went, he asked, "Where's the keys to the car?" That's trivial. Even though it's coming from the same mouth, but that's a mimer as opposed to what he says. That's a dibur. Similarly, where is the core essence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Where is Hashem's essence manifest? Afkin Torah, because as I said, Sadibris Mamaris are inferior by definition of the mimer itself. It's called again Mili de Hedieta. Investment in Elam Hazeh, it's investing in yourself, not in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Because the Elam Hazeh itself was created in such a way that it comes from the inferiority, it comes from an inferior dimension. Again, it comes from an inferior dimension of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, or inferior expression of HaKadosh. You're dealing with a mimer which comes on the onset from a lower level within HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And therefore, and again, this is interconnected with Alter Rebbe saying over here, therefore, in Elam Hazeh, because it comes from a mimer, which a mimer is the most distant place, especially again, a milling de Hedieta, something was a trivial word, a word said trivial in a more of a simple, trivial manner. Did anybody see my keys? Did you see my shoes? Or anything similar before he went to give his speech as a professor. It's something which is extremely external. It is his nefesh, there's his chabad, his wisdom, understanding, knowledge, his midas, and then there's machshav and his dibur. It's way, way distant from where he as an individual stands, his nefesh, and the state of his nefesh, extremely distant from it. If it's distant from it, So then it doesn't reflect it. It doesn't reflect his nefesh. So when you're dealing with no one's going to record asking where the keys are. It doesn't reflect him who he is, because it was something very distant. It came from the same mouth, but it was very distant aware of this individual's nefesh, of his soul, of what he stands for, what he represents. It's a simple question. It's a million the hediyet, as opposed to kaidish chayil, kayin, and then a regular hedyet or kain hedyet as a kain gadol. Something very, more simple, even coming from the same person, and therefore that does not carry the energy of the nefesh, or doesn't reflect the nefesh of this professor. For that matter, our mission is in life is asara kaf b'shekel ha'kodesh. It's brought in a number of many svarim. Is to fuse the two. We spoke about l'shem yichud kudsha b'richa u'shchinte. That's the point. To learn Torah and to do mitzvahs and to bring the anechi. Not only that it should remain asara sadibas, but it should infuse the asara mamoris. That's our mandate. That's our objective. Mola ha'oretz de'es Hashem. True. But on its own merit, the Aretz carries the most inferior part of a Kodesh Baruch Hu Ma'amoris. It doesn't reflect the Lukus. So I want to sit by the table, I want to connect with you, because you're not connecting to Lukus. You're connecting to yourself. If it's not, again, generated by opening a sefer on the table, learning Torah, b'mis'amik and inyan in Torah, if any part of Torah, so then the table which I'm sitting on also is elevating, connecting, it is fusing and synthesizing with the energy of the Torah. Asara kaf b'shekel ha'kodesh. Asara sadibus and asara mamoris fused together again. This becomes the objective, that it not only the Torah that I learned, but more so that it should also inculcate and penetrate into the asara mamoris, into the reality, into the physicality of Elam. Be'ayin mola ha'oretz de'es Hashem, or ki'ayin be'ayin, the physical eye, or v'ro kol basar yachdav, the physical basar will see a lukus. Yes, that's the big objective of why we're here. That's the objective. That's the mandate why we're here, and which culminates in Mesa Mashiach. Again, with the pasuk mola ha'oretz de'es Hashem, true, but the world on its own, it is coming from the Mamoris of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so it doesn't reflect the lukus, it doesn't reflect God. And this is again tantamount with what he's saying over here. The energy comes in very different the way it is in Olam Esalyanim. Again, in this case, not only in contrast to Torah, in contrast to the way the Eibishter is more for himself, by himself. As an example, we give example Atzilus, which is hosting HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Bria, which is where there's Gan Eden, Ha'eli and Yitzir is Gan Eden Atach. These places do reflect HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Where does it come from? It comes from Mamoris or Dibris, but we're not. It's not contrasting over here. The Mamoris and Dibris just doesn't take it for face value. And Gan Eden is a place where your neshama is yeshiv v'nenim miziv hashchina. They have derived pleasure from the ray of the Shechina. Meaning to say the Shechina is manifest in Elam HaBriya, less in Elam HaYitzirim, because Elam HaYitzirim is Gan Eden Atachim, and it's also Gan Eden. So there are neshamas just sitting there, also nehenim miziv hashchina in Gan Eden Atachim. How much more some Gan Eden Ha'elyon? So these are in Elamis Aliyanim, in supreme Elamis. Obviously, Elokus is much more manifest there. And Elokus stands in a state of Gilui, revelation. Again, revelation, state of manifestation. Olam Haza, the same energy, evolves from one Olam to the other until it comes into Olam Haza. But we can all appreciate when it comes to Olam Haza, it comes to a full state of concealment, contraction of the Eir, till as it enters into Elam Haza. What is the biggest proof? How do we know this? Look around you. Is this a world which demonstrates a Lakus? Or does anything else on its own to not only not demonstrate a Lakus, but to eclipse a Lakus, to obscure a Lakus, to bring the Helen V'Hester, the concealment over a Lakus, and the Yidel that has to find the Lakus, find godliness in every step of his way, but he has to uncover the layers which exist within Elam Haza as on its own, without the Avedas HaAdam, only is a great Helen V'Hester. The Gemara says Elam Lashon Helen V'Hester, which conceals over the reality of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So, and therefore, What is Alter Rebbe getting at over here? And therefore, so again, we have the two dimensions. First of all, it's the most inferior expression of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which ultimately becomes the energy which is Mahava Machayim Mekayim, which gives life and existence to Elam Hazeh. And more so, there is the Mesachim, the layers, the curtains, the partitions which cover up this air, and therefore when it trickles to Elam Hazeh, it doesn't reflect the Emes Hashem. Again, the avoid of the Yid is to connect, to be Megala, but we're dealing with Elam on its own. It does everything else than revealing the Emes Hashem. Elam Elashin Helam Behester. So, the Torah, when a person learns Torah, he's a Yid which finds himself in Elam Hazeh. So, and then he's saying the words of Torah. Lord opens the Gemara, Shnai Mechsam Batalas. These are words which are uttered by a human being living in Elam Hazeh, and the energy is an energy of Elam Hazeh. It's the oxygen which comes from within the system of the human being living in this physical world, part and parcel of the Elam Hazeh, hence connected to that energy which trickles into Elam Hazeh, which is Mailam and Mastir and Elokus, which covers up over the reality of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Now you want that to be connected on high to Elam HaYitzirah, Elam HaBriyah. How so? So the word Alter Rebbe is saying that I'm not taking away the fact that every limud Torah that a person learns, he connects to a HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because Torah, again, different than the way it is with two parties, with two acquaintances. You take something externally which is not connected to yourself and you're presenting. You need to invest your sentimental investment in it in order to reflect in the same fashion and the same manner by the recipient. Here it's obviously inherently different because Torah is inherently connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And in that case, it shouldn't matter how much Ava V'Yira I invest in the Torah, because Torah is HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Yet, and Alter Rebbe, in the end of the day, yes, even when you're learning Torah without Ava V'Yira, what you're doing is true, you're transforming, you're taking the energy which is in Elam Hazeh, which is the minimal energy and the most inferior dimension, not only again inferior dimension with the Kodesh Baruch Hu because of being Nesar Mamaris, but as it comes down, it's a ha'ara mu'etes, like the Lashon of the Alter Rebbe. It's a very small ha'ara. And as we all know it, as we can all identify, we can all appreciate it. Unfortunately, the Elam Hazeh is an Elam which obscures the Emes of Hashem. And more so, the Alter Rebbe adds, it comes through Mesachim, it comes through many layers, many cover-ups over this Ha'ara Mu'etes. So you can imagine how minimal the Ha'ara is, which comes into Elam Hazeh, which is Taka Mahava Machayim Mekayim. It gives life and existence to this perplex Elam Hazeh, this complex Elam Hazeh, which with all its greatness, Morabah Masech Hashem, Megolah Masech Hashem, of the Iked, it's not Megala Lukus. B'makom shatagmeitza gdolase shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu shamat tagmeitza and vasanusei. Na'leizeu gadlus shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu, like the famous Mekuba said that he's a BAYT Elam. It's the greatest Yerida for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He's a BAYT Elam. All Elam, that's particularly Elam Hazeh, because the energy which comes into Elam is the most smallest, minuscule, or minimal rather energy which comes in, which creates Elam Hazeh. So here's the Yiddish sitting over here with this, and as you remember, and therefore this is the notion of klipas nega, which ultimately could lead to shows klipas atmeis, because once there's the husk and the cover-up, it ends up the whole real shell, which is again everything within Elam Hazeh, which is associated with klipas nega. Klipa is literally a husk, a shell. And the point is that we take klipas nega and we transform it. Remember, as opposed to Shos Klipas Atmeis, we can transform it. We ought to stay away from it. Everything what Torah says is an Aveda. Do not do. Don't try to go there and transform it. It'll transform you. It'll take you down. Together with all the Torah, one learns of the good stuff one does. Torah says, don't go there. Do not go there. But everything else, which is associated with Klipas Nega, remember we spoke about Klipas Nega. We spoke about it in the past. You could see it in the previous chapters. I think starting with chapter 6, clearly clearly identifies Klipas Nega. The point is to transform the Elam has everything that's associated with Klippa, to take that and again transform that and elevate it to Kedusha. That is namely our mandate, that neutral Klippa. And the same thing when a Yid sits down and learns Torah, obviously the energy which becomes Eisis Hagdeshes, holy letters, holy words, because he's learning Torah which is inherently HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem and His Torah are one. So when he sits there down and learns Torah, obviously the Klippas Nega is not Kachas V'Shalom continuing to gather its own strength of Klippa, like when a person speaks Dvarim B'Teilim, idle talk. In this case he's learning Torah, so the Torah, the Asius, the energy which is invested in that right now, transforming to something holy, which is true and fine, again, because Torah is inherently Elokus, but you cannot say that there's a connection between the energy which exists in Elam Abriya, again, the energy within HaKadosh Baruch Hu to connect to that Limud HaTorah, when there is such a great distance from the world where HaKadosh Baruch Hu stands in full state of manifestation to a full state of concealment down here on this level in Elam Hazeh. And therefore, because the koil, the person, again, who's learning Torah, is part and parcel of the Elam Hazeh, his voice, his speech, his gashmi is part of the physical reality of the Elam Hazeh. And again, Elam Hazeh, with the air, the licht, the energy is so minimal. And this is part of the whole entire experience. Again, the whole entire experience of this human being was learning Torah. He's part in a production of this energy which comes into Elam Hazeh, again, which is such a minimal energy, with such a Helam V'Hester, with such a cover up of our look. So true, he transforms these Isis, become Isis Kedeshes. He takes the letters, he takes this energy, and he transforms them to Kedusha, as opposed to Chas V'Shalom extending them, allowing them to expand when a person Chas V'Shalom does something which is inappropriate, but not only inappropriate, again, violating HaKadosh Baruch Hu words, but something without any production, sits and has the time to learn Torah and speaks and invests in Dvarim B'Teilim, which again, it's an Aveda on its own merit, a great Aveda, or the worst Avedas. Talmud Torah Keneged Kulam, Bittul Torah remains the greatest, one of the greatest Avedas. L'Lashon Keneged Kulam. But here, even he's not even talking about the Aveda dimension. When you speak Dvarim B'Teilim, you're expanding on the inferiority of the Elokus, which is investing in Elam Hazeh. On this minimal, in other words, you're even bringing in greater Helam V'Hester, cover up and concealment of something which is already concealed. It's Ha'ara Mu'etes, number one, a very minimal Ha'ara. And on that there's Mesachim. You're putting another layer, because you're speaking Dvarim B'Teilim. What are you expanding? You're expanding the Klippas Neg. You're expanding the husk. You're bringing more Helam V'Hester, more concealment into something which is already concealed, or comes through with such great Helam V'Hester. You're putting another Helam V'Hester, another shell, another husk, which is Ma'ila V'Master, and this time is Hashem. As opposed to when you're learning Torah. True. Granted. But could you say that the Ha'ara, the way, could you say that the Ha'ara, the way, the light, the energy, the level where HaKadosh Baruch Hu stands in such a great, with such a great expression of manifestation, like in Elam, even Elam, you'd see how much more so in Elam could you say there's a connection? Where's the connection? This is a Elam which is completely a master on the Emes Hashem, and that's an Elam which is part of that's an Elam rather where there's Gilui Elokus, revelation of godliness. And when we say revelation of godliness, as we explain, the Atzilus hosts the Ein Sof, and Bria is very close to Atzilus. From a certain perspective and point of view, obviously, in other places it says that Atzilus is the Etzli, the sum of Bria, begins Bria, the creation, even at a subtle level. That's Chalas Hayesh, like we explained at other times. But generally, Bria is close to Atzilus. It's the world right after Atzilus. So when a mitzvah is done with Kavanah, Similarly to again, going back to the example relationship with two people, when I invest sentimentally into that gift, what I'm doing is putting my heart in. So then the gift is no more just a gashmistic gift. There's a lot of sentimental investment in it. So how does it reflect into the recipient? When the recipient looks at the gift, he sees the sentimental energy which was invested in the gift. You opened up a conduit between yourself and that gift. The gift is no more just a physical piece of or physical watch or a gift certificate that I could buy something for $150. Right now you opened up a stream between your heart and that gift. To say, well, the gift is just a piece of paper or just a plain simple watch which you find in the shelf. No. It's not just a simple watch, a physical watch. There is because you opened again, you opened your heart. Your heart was invested into that gift, and therefore there is a flow of energy from your heart into the gift. So the gift taka is physical, but you can't say at this time that this is just a physical watch, just taken off the shelf. Is part of you in that gift. So therefore you can say it's just a physical. Obviously, it's a physical gift, it's a physical watch, but it remains. There's an open pipeline. There's an open flow of energy from your heart into that gift. So when the receiver receives it, because there is an open stream of energy from your heart into that gift, consequently, the receiver which receives the gift, there is the open connection between heart of the recipient with that, or that gift with the heart of the recipient. Again, what level in the heart depends what level in the heart you invest into the gift. And the same thing with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when a Yid learns Torah with kavanah, with avo, with yira, at that point there is an opening. There's a stretch between the Eilam HaYitzir and Eilam HaBriya with that limud HaTorah that the person learns. And again, for the simple reason, because the Yid learned with kavanah. So the kavanah, the energy, the kavanah lishma, that energy when a person opened the Gemara, he just didn't learn the Torah, the Gemara, just understand the Mishnah. When he opened the Gemara, he felt the Mal'alon Be'ema V'yira, Afkan Be'ema V'yira, he felt the Matan Torah, he felt the Nechi Hashem Lekecha. And again, we spoke about this a number of times. A person doesn't have to be this great tzaddik. Doesn't have to be this bar maila to know when you're opening a Gemara, it's a Nechi Hashem Lekecha, it's a Seres HaDibris all over again. And one acquaints himself time and again of that message, he doesn't have to be a bar maila when he opens a Gemara, that this is Amar Abaye is a Nechi Hashem Lekecha. And from that, not ulterior motives, it's Mimenu V'Hala. He's standing face to face with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Yes, again, with this duality which exists in the Torah, it's about understanding the Gemara. Not just you're not davening Shemoneh Esrei, but together with that, knowing that that's a Nechi Hashem Lekecha. At that point, it's no more just the Gemara learned. The physical layers, the fact that it's the physical person and the koil, it's a koil gashmi, a physical koil and a physical oxygen. And again, with the chisaron, with the disadvantage, the fact that it's an Elam Haza experience falls away. Because then you opened up a conduit between your kavanah into that Gemara learned. Consequently, it connects to where there's Gilui Elokus, which is again Eilam HaYitzir, and more so in Eilam HaBriya. So the Torah itself comes up that tube, that conduit, and straight connects with Eilam HaBriya. Doesn't remain more in Eilam Haza. Ashri Mishabah Lekam B'Talmudei B'Yodei. And Dr. Rebbe adds this piece over here that when Mashiach will come, that the pasuk says, "V'niglo kved Hashem v'ro kol basar yachdav," then that whole energy will even be felt and manifest in Eilam Hazeh HaGashmi. Because as long as before Mashiach's coming, because the Elam Hazeh remains a world of Helam Hester concealed of Elokus, so this whole experience is experienced and is elevated to Elam HaYetzirah, much more so to Elam HaBriya. Again, depends what type of Aviyira was invested. If it was Aviyira Tivis Aviyira, the passion Aviyira, like again, as we spoke as Alter Rebbe points out in the previous chapters, if it's elevated to Elam HaYetzirah, to Elam HaBriya, but if the experience is on that level, not so much manifest in Elam Hazeh, because Elam Hazeh remains the Helam Hester. So true, the kavanah, the importance of kavanah, the importance of investing Aviyira, that the gift itself, or the Teda where the person learns, again in the Nimshal, it has there's an open relationship, or it's overtly connected with this experience of Elam HaYetzirah, how much more so Elam HaBriya. Again, it's the example with two people, with two acquaintances, which we just gave, but yet it's not manifest in Elam Hazeh itself. This whole energy is not manifest in Elam Hazeh because the world remains a world of Elam Hazeh. Conversely, when Mashiach will come, or rather, when Mashiach will come, when there will be Gilui Elokus in this very physical world, as the Lashon is that the world itself that the world will be a revelation of the honor of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in this very physical world. So that whole experience won't be manifest in this physical world. Let's go back to the example that any bystander who looks at this gift, looks at this watch, they don't see how this watch enhanced or revolutionized the state of relationship between the recipient, the giver and the recipient. This is an experience between the two, which again in the Nimshal is the experience of the Yid learning Teda B'Kavana, the way that Teda was elevated to Elam HaYetzirah, Elam HaBriya, but namely it's manifest in those supreme worlds, not so much in Elam Hazeh. As opposed to when Mashiach will come, it'll also be manifest in Elam Hazeh. And similarly, like someone would go by and look at the gift and see that whole what this gift contributed, and then how much it enhanced the relationship of these two people. It'll be obvious in the gift itself. Now that's a great chidush. That's the last thing that Alter Rebbe says, that the chidush is when Mashiach will come, because of Menigla Kved Hashem V'ro Kol Basar Yachtov, that this whole experience of a Yid learning Teda Lishma, although the Aviyira, as opposed to, again, if he doesn't, Chas V'Shalom, and as again the Chisaron over here, but when he learned the Teda with Aviyira, the Kabbalah, it's all happening. Again, he opens that conduit between him and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, or the gift that Teda learns with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Via is Aviyira, his investment in Aviyira. The Chisaron over here is, again, pre-Mashiach's coming, that it's between him and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, or there's truly an open energy and a flow of energy between, because he has that kavanah or the aviyira which he invested in the Teda. True, the Teda is elevated on high to a place where there's Gilui Elokus. When Mashiach will come, additional to that, it will be felt in this very physical world. Again, in the mashal, that someone will look at the gift, he would see, you can imagine, someone looking at a watch and sees the entire experience between this receiver and this giver, which is something special on its own merit, because usually people don't see it. Someone has to be in tune to that relationship to identify it, but the average person looks at the watch, it's a regular watch. Even though everything was happening completely without any chisaron between the recipient and the giver. Mashiach will come again, it will be apparent even in Elam Hazeh Gashmi. And that's the last part of it here. The Alter Rebbe again concludes this point over here. So, how much time do we have to do with the text? Very little. And I'm wondering how much we can I'm wondering how much we could. Again, we'll try, and perhaps if it closes on us, we'll pick up in the coming week. So the after Yoseph even though HaKadosh Baruch Hu and His Teda are one, Shuhu Ritzei Echad Hashem and His Ratzon is one. And again, that's the question. Here comes the Alter Rebbe with the answer. It's Arieh Kuchabrichu Imanuel Kol Almin Mishkol Almin Mishava. HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the end, HaKadosh Baruch Hu fills all the worlds equally. There's no other energy. And again, we're going back to the very beginning of the answer. And from HaKadosh Baruch Hu's perspective, There isn't anything other than a lukus. There's nothing independent. Nonetheless, we know the worlds are not equal in their levels. And again, the shinoi is behamikablim, not from Hashem's perspective and point of view. There is differences in the mikablim. In other words, how Elam HaYitzira receives its energy from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and Elam HaBriya receives energy from Baruch Hu, and Elam HaSiyah, namely Elam HaSiyah Gashmis. The differences in the mikablim, and the Alter Rebbe goes by base pchinas in two ways, in two levels. First of all, Aleph Shal Yeini Mikabel Mari Yisrik Deil Ein Case Matachtein, that the Elyonim, which mean the supreme worlds, receive a greater ha'ara, and again infinitely greater than the inferior worlds, namely Elam HaZagashmi. Hasheni is the second thing. Again, I'm repeating, we're going to try to go this as quick as we can, because again, we basically gave it all out or explained it before, so there's no reason to be maidich in these words again. The first thing is the ha'ara is a much more minimal ha'ara in this physical world, but hashenis. And the second thing, the supreme worlds receive without any garments, without many partitions, without many curtains, without many cover-ups. And he says without many because inevitably there is. If there wouldn't be, the Ein Sof would be completely manifest. There wouldn't be anything. Nor an Eilam Atzilus even. Eilam, say Eilam Atzilus, it's Eilam. And there's 10 svidis and the descriptions and definitions and so on. That doesn't exist in the Ein Sof. Ein Sof is Pashat B'tachs Apshitus. So he says, there's not many Mesachim Rabbim. There has to be Mesachim. For something to be created, even the most supreme, superior, and the most sublime world, like in Eilam Atzilus, there has to be some Mesachim. But he says, generally they're without Levushim Rabbim, without Mesachim Rabbim. That's what makes them a spiritual world. Kol kach kibatachtenim, like in the inferior worlds. But Eilam Hazeh Shafel, in this physical world, this lowly physical world, is the base pchinas, has this disadvantage in both levels. The energy which exists within this physical world, which is Mahav Mechai Mekayim, every single prat in this Eilam Hazeh, from the smallest detail to the most grandest details in this world, are created and brought on a constant basis into existence, yet it comes from this very heart. In other words, with all its perplexities, with all its diversities which exist within Eilam Hazeh, in the end of the day, it's coming from ha'ara mitzumtzemes meidat ze'ha'achret. Because Gilui Elokus is not that HaKadosh Baruch Hu could create a sun, or could create a moon, or created all these different, again, complex nivraim which exist within Eilam Hazeh. That's not the godless of Elokus Fakert. It's the greatest yerida within HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Asar mamoris nivra ha'elam. But so it's together with understanding, but Masach Hashem, Agod Masach Hashem, it's a davar muad b'yesed, because what is special is when there's a Gilui Elokus, the revelation, the manifestation of Elokus. That's part of that's close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and that demonstrates the grandness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Ein Sof of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, not something which is Mailam Master in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It doesn't matter if it looks like a Grand Canyon or it looks like the sun or the moon and so on. True, we point out Marab Masach Hashem, but it's the Davar Achiyarud, it's a Ha'ara Mu'etes Mitzumtzemes Ma'ed. And he said, to the farthest extreme, that's how much it's mitzumtzum, that's how much the light which would come into Eilam Hazeh, it's contracted and again concealed and condensed and so on. Condensed to the k'tzei ha'achranat. And therefore, this world is physical and it's a mundane world. Additional to being ha'ara mu'etes, the minimal energy which trickles in, which ultimately creates Eilam Hazeh. Additional to that, there is garments which even cover up over that, and partitions, cover-ups. And he says, Rabim, many, till this energy invested as well. Klipas nega. Again, this is information which we learned in the past as well. The husk of nega, the klipa of nega. Lahachis kol advarim atahirim, to give life to everything which is tahir in elam hazeh. If it be a sheira or a keves, again an animal or a vegetable, which on its own, before the person making the bracha, there's no, it doesn't reflect and it doesn't represent and it doesn't demonstrate any gili lukus, to the extent that it's not even a medaber, which it reflects to some degree his chokhmah, his dibur of something special, of something unique. It's, for example, a vegetable or an animal. So it's taket tahir, and a person could make a bracha on it and elevate it, but on its own, it is a result of klipas nega, which means the ha'ara came and mislabish in the husk of klipas nega, and from that energy creates kol advarim, even at tahirim shebelam hazeh. And part of this which klipas nega it gives chayas to is the nefesh achayunis, is the animal soul, which is the vitalizing soul. Again, as we explained, you could look in chapter 6 as a introductory to this whole notion of klipas nega, which is mahava machayim mekayim kol dvarim atahirim shebelam hazeh, and including the nefesh achayunis of the person, nefesh achayunis hamidaberes shebe'adam, and again that chay is the vitalizing nefesh which gives chayas to the person as a medaber. The ability, again, the uniqueness, meiser ha'adam min ha'behema, is the fact that he has seichel and he has dibur. So is nefesh achayunis hamidaberes shebe'adam also receives its chayas from klipas nega. Therefore, kishnabdaber is divrei teiru tefillah taka, when a person sits and learns Torah. In other words, he utilizes his speech and learning Torah or davening. So what's happening is that this klipas nega, which is giving me the energy to speak. Again, the person can't speak on his own. There has to be an energy coming from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but yet this energy coming from HaKadosh Baruch Hu has so many layers till it forms a klipas nega, which gives the chayas to the person, and in general, and again, including the ability to speak. So when he takes that energy and he speaks, utilizes his speech in words of Torah and words of Tefillah, though b'lei kavana. Remember, in this page, Dr. Rebbe is trying to demonstrate the virtue and the advantage of learning Torah with kavana. It doesn't remain in elam hazeh, because because you're dealing with a person who's learning Torah, and again in this explanation we're dealing with a person who learns Torah tefillah without kavanah. The av shein eis gedoshes, even though they're truly holy letters, uve'ein klipas nega shebenefesh chayunis. Mosach mavdil klal lahasdir ulechasis al dushas yisbarich. This klipas nega of the person's nefesh chayunis is not at that very point a cover-up which would separate the lukus from his keich hadibur, which means the keich hadibur which is invested in limud hateidah, as we mentioned. And what's happening is that he's transforming the klipas nega to kedusha, meaning the klipas nega right now does not cover up the kedusha of HaKadosh Baruch Hu hamlubeshes bahen, which is invested in these isis, in these letters of Torah, kimeishi mizdateres mechasel al kedushas yisbarach sheben avos achayunis shemedaber dvarim betelim, like this klipas nega covers up on the holiness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which is invested again with a great hell and v'hester, but that is the only energy, is the energy of Elokus. And the person speaks, God forbid, idle talk. What's happening is the klipas nega continues to be machase, continues to cover up of that godly trickling energy which exists in the nefesh chayunis. And not only that, we even said before, it expands, it covers, it brings about more and more layers, because in the end of the day it's not aligned with Ratzon HaElyon. So it's expanding the klipa, the husk of nega, it's expanding the klipas nega, as opposed to when a person learns Torah. As he's going to conclude over here in the next few lines, the klipas nega is being transformed. Again, this is still without kavanah. He's going to culminate the problem again, which exists when the person learns b'lei kavanah. Again, he's going to culminate with this, with the problem which we're dealing with, the fact that the person's still part of elam hazeh, and the kail is elam hazeh, and the dibur is v'melam hazeh, and therefore there's the problem that it doesn't connect. Again, whatever we spoke about does not connect on high. even though he's saying, yes, I do agree that when you're investing your energy in learning Torah, the Asius, or that Kayach to speak, Kayach HaDibur, is being transformed via the Asius HaTorah to Elokus. And the Klippas Nega doesn't have the ability to cover up over that experience as it covers up. And again, we even added to that, not only it covers up, it expands the Klippa when a person speaks Dvarim B'Teilu. Now, the Alter Rebbe says, or that when a person speaks idle talk, or even the Nefesh HaChayun Shebashar Ba'al Chaim HaTahiri, and that vitalizing energy which exists by the other Ba'al Chaim, like the animal, the sheir, the seh, the sheep, the goat, the cow, for example, they're tahir. Now, Alter Rebbe remains tahir because he's speaking with Klippas Nega. Again, we spoke about this multiple times. There is a Klippas Nega and Sholosh Klippas Hatmeis, which would be Ba'al Chaim Hatmeim. This is what Torah says: do not eat. You're not allowed to consume it. Alter Rebbe is speaking even the world of Tara. The Klippas Nega covers up of the Emes Hashem. You look at the sheir. You look at the pot, you can look at the keves. Obviously, we could eventually take the keves and make it part of our Shabbos meal. So then there's also some type of transformation, but on its own, it's a Baal Chai. It doesn't reflect the Elokus. It's an animal. And why so? Because the Elokus invested in Klippas Nega. And Klippas Nega covers up over the Emes Hashem. and similar to when the Klippas Nega covering up of the Emes Hashem when the person speaks Dvarim B'Teilu. So he gives a few examples that there is that Klippas Nega which even is the neutral husk, the neutral Klippa. But in the end of the day, it's about a hell and behester over the Gilui V'Elokus. I would even take the moment to try to maybe just skip over the next few lines. We'll get back to it in a moment. As opposed to the holy words of Torah and Tefillah. And he says, when the person, conversely, when he utilizes his speech in learning Torah and davening, quite on the contrary, the Klippas Nega is transformed to Tov. V'nichlel is b'kedusha zu, to good, and it's consumed, and it becomes part of this kedusha of kedusha satera kiniska la'el, like we mentioned before. Mikol mokim, what is the chisaron, what is the disadvantage? The light and the energy from Hashem's kedusha stands with the ultimate tzimtzum, condensement, contraction, and minimal air comes through, minimal lichtigkeit comes through. What is happening on ground level is true. And the person is utilizing his speech for limud Torah, so the Asius become Asius Akdeshis, meaning to say that it's right now taking the energy of this Klippas Nega and transforming it bit by bit, because the person is utilizing his kayach coming from his nefesh hachayunis, hamdaberes, the kayach which is making him alive as a human being with the virtue of the faculty of speech, and I take that and I learn Torah, so bit by bit I'm transforming Klippas Nega, but nonetheless the lichtigkeit doesn't exist on that level. Because the voice and the speech is physical, because I'm a physical human being in this Elam Hazeh Agashmi. However, when you're dealing with prayer with kavanah and Torah, b'kavanah lishma, Torah with the proper intent, and lishma, so then Arieh kavanah mislabeshes, the kavanah itself invests in the Asius Hadibur, in the letters of speech. In other words, in these words of Torah and Tefillah, despite being kail the dibur gashmi, despite being a physical expression, or a speech which is associated with a physical dimension which exists within man, again, as a physical human being living in Elam Hazeh Gashmi, in this physical world. And so the Kail is Gashmi, and the Dibur is Gashmi, but nonetheless, with the Dibur, because he's doing it B'Kavana, and he's learning Torah B'Kavana, so the Kavana itself, we're just running through this because we explained everything in length before. The kavanah itself, mislabeshes beis hadibur, it invests in these words, in these letters of these words. Why does it invest in these letters of these words? Hayil humakir v'sherish lahen shemachmaso b'sibaso medaber eisiselu. Why does the energy, the spiritual energy, have the ability to invest in these words which are associated with Elam Hazagashim, with this physical world? How so? Apparently that is coming from the sublime Elam HaYetzirah, Elam HaBriya. It is spiritual and the words are physical. The answer is obvious. Or again, back to the example, why do I feel so much energy as the recipient of the gift? The answer, because the giver invested all that energy into the gift. And the saying, in other words, the reason why I gave the gift, because the giver feels a closeness to the recipient of the gift, to the receiver. And he wants to express his closeness into that, via that gift. So the gift becomes kind of submerged into the energy of the relationship, or the reason why he gave the gift is because he feels that closeness, or he wants to feel, develop this relationship. He wants to feel the closeness of the receiver, and therefore he's giving the gift. So the gift is no more just a gift. The reason for the gift is overwhelmingly present within the physical gift itself. And that's what Dr. Rebbe says. How could the spiritual kavanah connect with kol v'dibur gashmi, with a physical voice and physical speech? Is because the reason why I'm learning Torah is because I love you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, or have yira of you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So that reason, that energy connects with the Limit Torah, like Dr. Rebbe says, it's the source of this Kol V'Dibur Gashmi, because that is the reason why I'm speaking these Asias. And therefore, it has the ability to Maila Eisan, has the ability to elevate these Asias, which on their own, it's a Kol V'Dibur Gashmi, has the ability to elevate it at Mekayma B'Yitzvira, the Yitzira, till on high, and again, depending what level on high, or in the 10 Sviras of Yitzira, or the Bria, Lefi Mashra Kavanah, B'Tchil Rechim U'Sichli Meitivim, based on your Kavanah. If it was, again, the investment, the intellectual expansion on the godless of the Ein Sof, which produces a passion and Avavira, it elevates a Telem HaBriya. Or if it's the inherent Avavira, like we spoke before, it elevates a Telem HaYetzirah. And V'sham, Meir Mizgaler in Baruch Hu. There, you have a full state of revelation, a manifestation of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Telem HaYetzirah, Telem HaBriya, which is Ratzon Elim Baruch HaMlubish Beis HaTeira, which is again the supreme Ratzon, which is ultimately invested in this Teira Eisis HaTeira. The Teira remains the Anechi Hashem Alekecha. The only thing is here in this physical world, it's not completely manifest, but in the Elam Eshalyenim, the fact that this is Ratzon HaElyen, and again really connected to the Ein Sof of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, there it's a world which is about Gili Elokus. It's a world which Elokus stands in the state of revelation and manifestation. So which is again, there's the revelation of the Ein Sof Baruch Hu, which is the Ratzon HaElyon, of the Hashem Supreme Ratzon, which is invested in these Eisis HaTeira Shalem, which you learn to become a Nasa in their Kavanah, or B'Tfilah of a Kavanah, or in prayer in its Kavanah, or B'Mitzvah of a Kavanah, or in the Mitzvah and in its Kavanah, V'Ha'areg De'Lelein Kate, with a much greater Ha'aram, much greater lichtigkeit, which cannot shine and cannot reveal itself as the mitzvahs, as the Asias remain in this physical world. As the mitzvahs remain in the physical world, not even a bit, till when Mashiach will come, and the world will be elevated from its physicality, in other words, from its physical state. As this is the point of Mashiach's coming in Malad Days Hashem. These layers will come off, the Nigluk Veid Hashem, and Hashem's honor will be revealed. Then that whole experience would also be manifest and revealed in this very physical world. Like we learned before, in length, So that will be another chidush, that whole experience will be felt in Ilam Hazeh. But till then, it's all happening. It's all happening. There's an open connection between your limud HaTorah and these Yud Tzviris, in other words, connected to the Ein Sof of HaKadosh Baruch Hu Me'Bivel Metzir and Ilam HaBriya. It's all happening. In other words, there's a complete opening between the physical ACAs to the way things are L'mayla. As opposed to if you learn Torah without Kavanah at all. So then the ACs just remain because they're associated with Kel, Dibur Gashmi, V'Ilam Hazeh. Taka your Mahapach, you transform these words to Elokus, to Kedusha, as we said before, but the whole experience of the relationship with your Kadosh Baruch Hu is not manifest. And at no level. And the Torah remains in Elam Hazeh. And the chidush of L'aseh Lavi, like we said before, that any bystander looks at the gift and sees that important change, or the important step in the relationship of these two people. That's a great chidush. To see it on the physical state, on the physical level, that's something grand on its own, and that's what's going to be when Mashiach is going to come. Have a good night.